welcome to this edition of Conversations with Lothrop. We're delighted tonight to have as our guest Krista Long. And we certainly are pleased that you're here.
Thanks for inviting me.
She grew up in Oberlin, and you correct me if I have some of this biography wrong. Her father was James F. Long, known as Bill. He was a longtime manager of the Oberlin Co-op. By the way, where did the Bill come from?
It's really pretty much of a mystery, but it came from his college days.
It did.
And I've heard various stories, but I don't believe either one of them. So.
But he used that all the time. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I never could think of him as James Franklin.
No, people were confused.
But I just thought, when we were talking, I'd ask you if you knew where that... So that's sort of legendary, lost in the family tree. And her dad was also very active in social causes and in civic affairs. And her mother, Dee, was a member of the board of the trustee of the library board, wasn't she?
For a time,
and did other good things. So she comes from a distinguished background. You have two kids?
I have two children.
And they're what ages?
Victor is 10 and Julia is 7.
10 and 7, just a lively age.
Very lively.
Very lively, yeah. Are you preparing them to help at the store?
Well, they certainly chip in on many occasions, sometimes usefully, sometimes not, but they like being in the store a lot, and they like running the cash register, and they're somewhat willing at this point to do actual useful things like pricing merchandise and clean the office. I think they're both looking forward. They both expect to work there. I hope that that will work out. That's a good thing.
Nice. You want to bend the twigs early, as somebody said.
Well, that can be quite a bit of a distraction at the moment. But that'll change. I imagine.
Now, you grew up in Oberlin.
I grew up in Oberlin.
Have you ever lived anywhere else?
I did go away to go to college.
Where did you go?
I went to Boston and attended Simmons College. Although I did not finish school there, never got a degree. I returned after 3 years. I returned to Oberlin. There was an opening at the bookstore, and I really was more interested in working than in going to school. And so I came back not really expecting to stay. I thought that I'd decide what I wanted to do and, save some money living in an inexpensive place at the time. And, of course, one thing led to another, and I'm still here.
Very true.
It's kind of funny. I realized I only recently decided that I was going to stay in Oberlin. It was really when I made the decision to buy the bookstore, or to start the bookstore, that I had to make that decision. Okay, well, it's either leave Oberlin now and go to, say, Minneapolis, or get into publishing in some way, or was I just going to go ahead and stay in Oberlin and make that ultimate commitment? So it was really just since the year 2000 that I...
Now, your father having run the bookstore for 30-some years, I guess. Did that have any influence on you and books?
Well, yeah, I'm sure it did. I mean, I always liked working at the store, and I worked there from a young age, starting with putting stamps on envelopes and sending out monthly statements that we did for 50 cents an hour or something like that when we were 8 and 9 years old. And then, slowly taking on, other jobs and counting at inventory and, working the register. And then, as I said, when I returned to Oberlin, I did work in the book department and went on to manage the book department and as the buyer. And I've always loved working with the books and being around them. And it's been, that's really what I've done my whole working life.
Did you work for Nax for a while?
Yeah, after I left the co-op, I worked for Joan Hulbert at Wit and Wisdom Booksellers in Cleveland. She was one of the Premier Independence, which of course is now, that store is now gone in the wake of all of the corporate retailers like Borders. And after I left her store, I came to Max, and I worked for Max Corp as a book merchandise manager for a little over 10 years.
And you're still in it.
And then, yeah, I really, actually, it's one of my regrets that now that once I made the move to the Ben Franklin location, I've really had to spend a lot more time dealing with the variety side of it and getting familiar with that, because that was new to me. So I've spent less time with books since that move was made than I would like to, although I'm certainly having a wonderful time at the store.
Now, all of this preparation that you've had has been great. Did it prepare you adequately to run your own business with books?
Well, I guess I would have to say yes.
Rather than having gone into it with almost no experience.
Certainly, it's not the kind of endeavor that you would undertake without good understanding of what you were getting into. I was fortunate in working with Bill all of those years because he was quite a teacher, and he went out of his way to teach not only me but other employees and board members and any interested person. He went out of his way to teach them what was really going on with the finances and with, in the behind-the-scenes operational aspects of the store. So, from an early age, I was aware of balance sheets and, P&Ls and, I found it interesting.
And at what point did you decide you wanted your own bookstore?
Well, I get asked that question a lot, and I think a lot of people think that I'm going to say, well, I've always wanted my own bookstore. And that's not really true. When my career at Max came to an end, and it was due to downsizing and reorganizing in the wake of...
They've done a lot of reorganization.
They have. They've been having their difficulties, and they're still not through them, although they continue to work hard at it.
Are they part of something else now? Or are they all still independent?
Max Corp is still owned by the National Association of College Stores, which is, a non-profit trade association, and that, as of today, has not...
Are you a member of it now from your...
Yes, I am.
Oh, yeah.
So, when that... When I was downsized out of Max, I really had a chance to think about what I wanted to do, and I looked into several other positions with publishing companies doing marketing, and it was also in the wake of the closing of the co-op, and it was clear that there was a need for another bookstore, and we had a used bookstore in Oberlin which had closed, and it seemed like the time was right. If I was going to try to do another bookstore, the summer of 2000 was the time to do it, and I just decided, it's now or never, and I didn't look back after that.
And you started with used books originally, was it?
Well, mostly used, and still the assortment at MindFair is mostly used, although we do have quite a bit of new, and we get calls for a lot of new. So it's a good mix.
When you do a book, you can search for books.
Yeah, we can get just about any book, whether it's in print or not. Sometimes the price is rather high, but there's a fabulously rich network of dealers in this country and even worldwide. The internet has made contacting those and searching out those books so much easier. So we use the internet, and we buy and sell all the time over
Where did you get the name MindFair? I love that, and I just wondered where it came from.
I'd like to take credit for having thought it up. But in looking for things to do in the last 10 years of my life, other than work at MaxQuest, I investigated a school book fair company in the Toledo area they were looking to sell, and the name of their company was MindFair. We didn't meet in an agreement, and they ended up closing the business. And I liked the name so well, and it resurfaced when I decided to open the bookstore, and so I've been using it.
Mm-hmm. Now tell us how the fortuitous event came about that got you to the location you now are.
Well, it was in the fall of 2000, I began to hear that Marianne was interested in retiring and was interested in selling the store. And
she'd done that 40 years, hadn't she, or something like that?
Yeah, she took the store over in 1961 from her father, and clearly had worked there before that. So I approached her, and thinking, well, I might as well at least ask her. And after looking, the first look, I thought, well, this really could work. And then with a little more digging and, some help from Lorraine National Bank, it seemed like it was the logical thing to do if the store was going to grow. It needed a better location, and the stability of the Ben Franklin store was going to keep people coming, and it's been a wonderful marriage of businesses, and they both brought a lot of positive things to the other. And
an unusual mix. You don't usually have quite that five and dime, as they used to say. That dates me to say that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the joke I heard years ago about the person that Mr. Cochran had to dismiss because she couldn't remember the prices of anything. Everything was 5 and 10. Well, that's the price. We thought that was just hilarious when I was about this high, don't you? A little more than that. But it also tied in with the change at the corner of the bookstore, didn't it? And they're selling a whole different approach with the Oberlin books, isn't it now? They don't do textbooks anymore, do they? Yes, they do.
They do textbooks. Yeah.
They don't do.
Well, they have their chain store, and they have their formulas for how they merchandise their stores, and so it's not that I don't wish to denigrate what they're doing, but
they have their niche.
They have their niche, and my goal is really just to make adequate living for my family and my coworkers, and by selling merchandise that I like to sell, like books and games and toys, and it's nice to have a good variety of the merchandise. People need that in our downtown area. The college students need that. Those without cars.
And where would the young teenagers get their sugar fix for 2 sugar if it wasn't for the Ben Franklin? I see when the weather's good, Yeah. I see these hordes coming out there. Well, schools, the junior high's out, middle school.
Yeah, you can tell the clock. It's 20 of. And then they leave at, by 10 of, they're gone. And hopefully they're paid for most of it, but not always.
There's a little slippage there. Well, let's see. We've covered quite a bit so far. What is the greatest challenge to running a book business? Is there any one single thing?
Well, I think my biggest challenge is that I get pulled in a lot of different directions. And I get interrupted frequently throughout the day to answer this question or take this phone call, and that makes it hard to keep focused on the things that really need to get done. I guess one of my frustrations. It's also a small business, and controlling the costs and paying attention to the details makes a big difference. And I'm good at merchandising. I'm good at creating a comfortable, friendly environment. I'm not the best at detail, but so I'm finding myself that I need to be more disciplined about that, and so that's a challenge to me personally.
And you have all the financial records, of course, all the tax things.
Yeah.
Then how about employment of people? Is it hard to get good people?
I have not found that to be the case, and I was very fortunate that many of the people who were working for Marianne wanted to continue to work. In fact, most of them. So I really have a wonderful staff. And I wouldn't be able to make it without them. I rely on them a lot.
Do you have one person who sort of oversees one half of the store and one
not
when
really.
you're not there?
We have people who have various niches in the store, and they do their jobs very well. It's also a great pleasure for me to be able to provide jobs for the high school students. And
the field is pretty good.
Right now I have there's five high school students that are working for us in, varying amounts of time. And, it's really, I may not be able to pay as high as some, people would like, but the kids get a good job. There's lots of different things that they have to learn about. There's a lot of different things that they have to master in order to do that job well. And, I think that it's a good first-time job for high school kids, and there's not enough of that.
And I'm impressed with how well they do at the cash register. They don't seem to get rattled when there's perhaps a difficult customer or something that's complicated. And every now and then I hear the bell hit and something comes out.
Well, you can't possibly know the answer to all the questions.
No, of course not. How do you choose what you want to sell? Let me divide that into two. Do you carry some books that are new that you would have automatically whether people ordered them or not?
Yes, we do. Okay. And another trade association that we are members of is the American Booksellers Association, and the ABA has a marketing program called BookSense, which includes a bestseller list that's really more oriented towards the independent bookseller. And we take advantage of that and bring in the books that are on that list. Those you'll find up in the front of the store. And then, I have been an Oberlin bookseller for many years. Also, I'm fortunate to have Dick Riley. Many people know Dick as Tree. Tree has also sold books in Oberlin for many years, and between...
You worked at Max, didn't you?
Yeah, he worked at Max. He
we
worked
have all
at the
this alumni association almost setting up there.
So, that definitely helps in being able to choose the books that are stocked. Also, Rachel Mills, who is an Oberlin College student who has chosen to stay in town. Rachel has picked up the books business really well, and has a good feel for what people want to read. So some books we order as a result of having them requested, and other books are ordered speculatively because we're familiar with the reading community.
I know that some booksellers use books will go to things like Friends of the Library sale at Oberlin or Wellington or other places and buy. Do you do that? Do you use that kind of resource?
We buy a lot of books from Oberlinians, and again, that's the idea of recycling the books within the community. The best books that we get for ourselves as used books are books that come right out of Oberlin. And, people are either downsizing their libraries or moving or... so those are the books that sell the fastest. And because it's the same ideas, are still sought. by the customers of MindFair.
Well, it certainly is a fascinating mix up there, and I think it seems to be working so well. Is there a difference between the clientele on one side of the store and the other? Do they mix? Do some go back and forth, or do people come in with mainly Ben Franklin and others come in with mainly books, or can't you tell?
There's some segregation, but there's also a lot of integration. And people, people come and they buy a book and they go and get some toilet paper or pick up some toys for the kids, or party supplies, school and office. I mean, the advantage is one-stop shopping, and everybody likes a place where they can, accomplish cross more than one thing off their to-do list.
And I assume that somebody might come into the Ben Franklin to buy something on the west side of the store, and then he becomes curious about what's on the other side.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
And we do get a lot of, I suppose, sightseers is the word, people who you stop them because they're wandering in the aisles and you ask if they need help, and they're just really looking around. I haven't been in an old Ben Franklin in a long time. So, people welcome that environment. It's a quieter store. It's not so hectic. It's not so crammed, although we do have a lot of stuff in there.
Yes. That raises the question of inventory. Do you have to inventory? You would with the Ben Franklins, wouldn't you?
Well, you take an annual inventory for tax purposes.
Yes.
We don't count the inventory any more often than that, although we're obviously always reordering and assessing the inventory for those reasons.
Do you order textbooks if people feel they need it? Come and ask you, could you do that?
Yeah, we can. We can't usually offer a better price on a single copy of a textbook than they would find at Barnes & Noble or even online, especially for new books.
Do people bring you second-hand textbooks to sell?
They try. Second-hand textbooks don't have a shelf life, much at all. So.
Particularly in the sciences, I think.
Yeah, it really, almost, the publishing industry has worked hard to make sure that happens. They change editions frequently and, tweak the content enough that they can call it a new edition. Of course, as you said, in the sciences, often there is new content. So textbooks really aren't something that we want old ones of. They really don't have much value, unless, of course, they're very old. And then, they're interesting from an antiquarian point of view.
And believe it or not long ago, I got hold of a textbook I had used as a sophomore in history, that I've kept all these years, and needed something and found it in that. I was very surprised. I'd gone into college once before. That was the first time I'd dipped into high school. I wonder if that would be. And it was a book on modern European history. And I've forgotten just what I was trying to look something. I can't see what it was now. But at any rate, I thought it might be in there, and it was. So you just never know.
You never know when you'll need that book, and of course a lot of people hang on to their books.
Yes.
Never
In
know.
fact, I do have, when I was in elementary school, Prospect School, not the present building, we had to buy our textbooks up until about 4th grade.
Wow.
And I had those still. And the 1st grade reader was called Wagon Puff, and it was about a dog and a cat.
So those are gems.
Those are gems.
Those are gems to go back and look at.
And people like to see those. I show those to people.
Yeah, the old children's books.
And they were in odd colors. A lot of lot of yellow and blue and green colors. Nothing. It wasn't a mess. I don't mean that, but it wasn't as it would be today.
Yeah.
I think color was probably just beginning to come in then. This is 20 years back. But, so, and then there were editions of Lewis Carroll and books that had colored plates in it. You've probably seen some of those, the black bindings. Those are, I think, prized now.
Yeah, many of them.
Some of them just continue on like that over the years. Let me ask, we're about ready to wind this down, believe it or not. Let me ask a double question. What do you like most about running your own business?
Well, I like the interactions with the community. Being able to see the customers, find out what they're looking for, help them find what they're looking for, and just being part of the downtown community. That's the social aspects of it, ironically. For me.
Anything you particularly don't like about running your own business?
The telephone.
The telephone. Have you ever thought of taking it out?
Boy, that, I would like to. I thought that I could.
Just to be able to call out and not in. And
yeah, between, like I said, the interruptions that it causes and the telemarketers.
With the telemarketers, I bet you on for that.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. That's annoying enough at home.
It's even more annoying.
I bet because you're on the book circuit now. And, how many of those a day do you get? Would you guess?
3 or 4.
Do you make short work of them, or do you have some that you
as short as I can.
Do booksellers come in to see you? Do you get much of that?
Yeah. Definitely. Some antiquarian booksellers looking for books for their own shelves. And, booksellers are book buyers, by and large. So,
but I wanted to see who came in to try to sell you new books.
We do have some book reps coming in. As we've expanded more into new books, we are buying more directly from publishers. Primarily children's books. Where we've begun to add publishers, and then, there's some of the major publishers as well.
Is this something you would recommend to person looking for a vocation?
Well,
not necessarily books, but doing your own.
I think it takes a certain personality and certain demeanor. There's certainly a lot of hard work, but there's a lot of variety, and I'm finding it to be fascinating and getting I'm growing a lot personally and gaining skills all the time. But it's definitely hard work and a lot of demand. Personally, a lot of demand. But it's just some people are cut out for it, and some aren't.
Yeah, you have to like people, or you couldn't not do it, obviously.
Right.
So, have you ever had any young people come in and ask about that sort of thing?
Some, not a lot. I don't think that a lot of people see retail as a goal, at least at the level that I'm dealing with it. I think they do see that as a lot of hard work and not a huge return.
I wonder if people tend maybe to would do it more coming to what you have, where you work for a large company which did these kinds of things, and then you evolve into your own business with it, rather than the other way. That might be
possibly
an exposure, I guess, or something. And I'd like to do that more.
Well, some people would take on a store management as a road up. I would think, so if you manage a store and then you become a regional manager and a district manager, and you move on up in the organization, especially with chain stores, rather than the other way around. However, from the point of view of independence, it's it's a great place to be.
Well, we're just about done this. Do you have any final comments you'd like to make? Really, you can address the city of Oberlin?
Well, I'm just grateful to the community for the support that they've shown. It's been, I have received lots of help and lots of support, and I am very grateful for that, and pleased to be where I am.
There's no question you're filling a really important role, I think. And the timing of it all was just so amazingly right.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able to do that.
That's great. Well, we thank you so much, and I'm going to give you a Conversations with Lothrop mug.
I've been waiting for this moment. There it is, everyone. That's my reason for coming.
Yes.
My Conversations with Lothrop mug. Thank you very much, Dick.
And we thank you so much, and wish you all the best with this store for the next 20 or 30 years.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's say 30. 30. 30
a good number.
And then you can think maybe about slacking off a little bit. So this ends our program for this evening, and we thank you very, very much for joining us. This is Richard Lothrop saying good night, and we look forward to our next program with you.